a written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
I'm going to call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to our board meeting today. I am Sue Wilson, President of the 2021 Board of Directors. During this meeting, we request everyone please turn off their cell phones or put them in vibrate mode. Effective January 2017, we started taping our board meetings, and by entering this room and or participating in the meeting, you are hereby granting permission to the RCSC to record and use on video and audio tape your image, likeness, and voice. You are also waiving any claims you may have against the RCSC for using your image, likeness, and voice in connection with the video and audio taping of this meeting and broadcast and or publication of such meeting for any purpose. In accordance with our corporate documents, a board meeting is generally held the second Monday and the last Thursday of each month, with the exception of July and August when there are no board meetings. I want to make sure that before we begin the business at hand, I'd like to introduce you to your board of directors and our management personnel. To my right, Treasurer Sheila Rooney. Morning. Director Darla Akins.
Good morning.
Director Gene Westmeyer.
Good morning.
Director Rich Hofer.
Good morning.
To my left, Vice President Mike Egge.
Good morning.
Secretary Dale Lair.
Good morning.
Director Dan Schroeder.
Good morning.
And Marcia Johnson, our Corporate Executive Coordinator. Good morning. Our management team that is here today, Bill Cook, our General Manager. Good morning, everybody. Jan Eck, our retiring General Manager. Kevin McCurdy, Director of Finance. Mike Whipperud, our Director of Buildings and Infrastructure. Brian Duthu, Director of Golf and Grounds. Jolynn Higgins, our Communications and RCSC Marketing Coordinator. And our birthday girl, Teresa Serino, up in the booth.
Happy birthday.
Is our Director of Events and Entertainment. All right. I also want to recognize Alan Kleinhans and Mike Crawford, who are our audiovisual engineers, and Jim Moore and Dave Miles, who are our audiovisual technicians, who operate all the audio at this and other events, and of course, Teresa up in the booth helping us. Okay, Secretary Lair, do we have a board quorum?
Madam President, we do have a quorum.
Okay. Director Hofer, would you like to introduce?
I sure would. Thank you very much, Madam President. I'm pleased to announce 7 candidates that we have that are going to be running for the board. We have 4 seats open on the board this year, and the elections will be December 14th in person, and you'll be able to vote online and get those absentee ballots sent out to you beginning November the 8th. But today I'd like to give you the first look at the 7 candidates running for the board in no particular order. Alan Linefsky, when I call your name, please stand and stay standing. Candace Ruggiero. Frank Thorwald. Karen McAdam. Kat Fimmel. Stilla Van Ness. And John Nowakowski. These are the 7 folks that have jumped through an awful lot of hoops to get to where they are today, and we'll be introducing them at all of our board meetings, and they'll have you'll have a really good chance to talk to them and get to know them at the candidate forums on November 1st and 3rd, both of which will be right here in this room. Thank you. Appreciate it. Round of applause. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Madam President, I so move.
All right, Secretary Lair made the motion. I need a second. Seconded by Director Westermeyer. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All who approved signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose? Okay, motion passes. Approval of our minutes of the September 30th, 2021 meeting.
I so move.
Okay, motion by Director Akins.
Second.
Seconded by Vice President Eggy. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, seeing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those who approve signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, no committee recommendations, so we're moving on to the motions. Marcia, has anyone signed up to speak regarding any motions on the agenda today?
No one signed up to speak on the motions, Madam President.
Okay. All right, so I'm moving ahead. Second reading of motion 1 by Director Hofer.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to amend Board Policy Resolution Number 17 titled Golf, section titled General Golf Rules and Regulations, Item 4, in which we are striking the words "for a trial period ending October 31st, 2021." The rest remains the same.
Okay. I need a second.
Second.
Seconded by Vice President Eggy. Any discussion on this? Okay, seeing no discussion, I'll take the vote. Secretary Lair,
Yes.
Director Schroeder,
Yes.
Director Hofer,
Yes?
Director Westmeyer,
Yes.
Director Akins,
Yes.
Treasurer Rooney,
Yes.
Vice President Eggy,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion passes 8-0. Third reading, motion 1, Secretary Lair.
Madam President, Board of Directors, I move to amend Board Policy Resolution Number 12, titled Chartered Club, Section 7, titled Club Member and Guest Attendance as written.
Okay, I need a second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Director Akins. Any discussion on this? Okay, seeing no discussion, we'll go for a vote. Director Schroeder,
Yes.
Director Hofer,
Yes?
Director Westmeyer,
Yes.
Director Akins,
Yes.
Treasurer Rooney,
Yes.
Vice President Eggy,
Yes.
Secretary Lair,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion passes final reading 8-0. Okay, Marcia, has anyone signed up to speak on agenda items today?
No one signed up to speak on agenda items, Madam President.
Okay, so we'll move to our agenda item number 1. General Manager Bill Cook.
Thank you, Madam President, Board of Directors. I request for a motion to raise the RCSC Employee 401k company match to $750. The reasoning behind this is twofold. One is that we're currently seeing a turnover rate of over 40%, which is higher than market. And so one of my goals is to reduce that, as the cost of turnover, it can be 20 to 30% of an individual's salary. So we're trying to build some incentives to help us with that. Secondly, we want to be more competitive, so our HR department and finance did a review of the Phoenix area as well as some of our sister Sun cities, and we are at the low end of that range. So if you look at Phoenix in general, it's 4.5% of a person's salary. So if you look at somebody who's making $30,000, that's $1,350, and ours currently is $500. So if you just look at the market, and if you look at the other two Sun cities, Grand and West, we are also below them as well. So this is why I'm asking.
Okay. I need a motion.
Madam President,
Yes, Secretary Lair.
Board of Directors, I move to raise the RCSC Employee 401k company match to $750.
I second.
Seconded by Director Hofer. Going for a vote. Director, I'm sorry, first I better ask if there's some discussion. Any discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, we'll go for a vote. Director Hofer,
Yes?
Director Westmeyer,
Yes.
Director Akins.
Yes.
Treasurer Rooney.
Yes.
Vice President Eggy.
Yes.
Secretary Lair.
Yes.
Director Schroeder.
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that motion passes on the first time,
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
8-0. Okay. Okay, looks like business taken care of. So member comments, Marcia.
Lynn Leibel.
Okay, as you come up to speak, please make sure that you give your name and your member number. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for comments as indicated by the light on the stage. If you make comments and then want to return a second time, we ask that you wait until everyone gets an opportunity to speak. And then time allowing, you can return for additional comments. Lynn.
Lynn Leibold, 102-369. At the last meeting, a member stated that the board was asked to reconsider the decision made to go ahead with the plans for the new Mountain View building, as several ideas had been researched for moving the Players building and new ideas for the design of the area to be considered. You can't stop a project once it's been handed to the board. We have a committee called Long Range Planning that spent long hours, days, and months researching these projects, including 2 town hall meetings of almost 500 people. And we took their input and we spent that time giving them what they wanted. Somehow, excuse me, it's allergy season. Somehow the idea of pickleball being taken off has made the rounds. And to my recollection, we did not vote to take that off at all.
Right.
To assume something this last couple months has been prevalent on people that have attended here. The best thing you can do to become informed is to go to the committee meetings, ask your questions. Then you will get answers. You can be informed. Don't protest something until you know what you're protesting. Those meetings are open, and you can go to them. You don't have to be a member. You can go ask questions to finance, long-range planning, whichever. Start being part of the solution, not just a loud noise. You'll be a lot more effective. Be informed. Thanks.
Thank you.
Karen Sharman.
Karen Sharman, 117652. Well, I did this a little wrong because I didn't when I signed up. I meant to sign up for the agenda item, but since it was just the first reading, is that correct?
Yes.
I would wholeheartedly hope that the board might take into consideration raising that amount. It has been $500 for years, and they've raised it now to $750, which is pretty much under the standard. And in today's day and age, in keeping good employees, this is a very easy way to give a benefit to some long-term standing employees. And I think we have some very good long-term standing employees. And I don't even have a number to put it to, but as I understand it, you quoted 1,300? Yeah, 1,350.
Well, I should say
I understand that. That was making 30,000. Okay. I would wholeheartedly hope that you would maybe reconsider and possibly consider making an amendment to this request at your second reading of this, because $750 after so many years at $500 for all of the very faithful and good employees that we've had over the years, I think that it would be a very apropos and actually I think it's probably a needed suggestion. But that's really all I had to say. The other thing is I would like to piggyback on Lynn. I would wholeheartedly encourage people that have questions to look up committees. The committees are open to all of the residents, and there usually is a place on the agenda for them to comment or question, and you can certainly learn a lot by attending committee meetings. You don't have to attend them all, but if you have an interest, if you have questions about golf, attend the Golf Advisory Committee. If you have questions about finance, attend the Finance Committee meetings. So become knowledgeable about the community. And I wholeheartedly, suggest that everybody in this audience that has questions attend committee meetings. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Alan Lineski.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm Alan Lineski, and I'm running for the board this year.
Can I have your member number?
147871. Thank you. I want to compliment the board, the staff, and the pickleball players because I've heard a rumor, which I hope is true, that a great deal of progress has been made on solving the pickleball problem. If that's accurate, the best way to do this type of thing is to put aside personalities and acrimony and deal with the issues. So I just want to compliment everybody involved in resolving the problem so we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stella Van Ness.
Good morning, everyone. 116314, Stella Van Ness, and I too am running for the RCSC Board of Directors. But what I really wanted to say is I thank you all for everything you do and everything you have done. And I am truly sorry for the abuse that you have had to put up with in the last few months. I really hope that it resolves and it doesn't have to be put up with anymore. And I'm sorry, but I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the board. I thank you all very much for everything you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kat Filmo.
Good morning. I'm Kat Fimmel. I'm running for the RCSC Board of Directors. I want to thank the board.
Do you have your number?
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
one?
Your number.
My number, 149386.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all the members of the board for the support they've given me thus far. And I particularly want to thank Marcia and Karen for their efforts. And hopefully I can garner some support for my candidacy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry Fife. You signed up, and you only sign up if you want to speak, so you don't want to?
Okay.
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 Fine. Russ Bourne. Same? Okay.
Okay.
Nancy Greathouse.
Good morning. Nancy Greathouse, 149885. This is my first on-site meeting. However, I do read the agendas, the minutes, and watch the videos of each meeting to stay informed of issues in the community and within the board. My concerns today are in reference to the board meeting minutes dated 9/30/2021, which you have just approved, but I did have it marked as my comments were in regards to the minutes. So I just have a couple of things I'd like to bring up about that. Under board comments on page 5 of 5, General Manager Bill Cook responded to comments about why officers were present at the meeting. I would like to suggest editing to include clarification of those officers as police officers versus board officers to identify that since there is no prior reference without the video. Under member comments, page 5 of 5, I would like to suggest the inclusion of the number of members present at each meeting. This could be easily captured at the entrance by a board member or officer with a handheld counter and then submitted to the secretary for documentation into the minutes each time. Under member comments, page 5 of 5, there were multiple suggestions and comments regarding holding Zoom or other streaming meeting options, especially around the annual meeting. There are no notes or follow-up strategy in the minutes or on the agenda for today regarding this issue. Under member comments, page 5 of 5, there were multiple suggestions and comments regarding the option to hire a professional parliamentarian as needed for the annual meeting and potentially other specific meetings. There are no notes or follow-up strategy in the minutes or on the agenda for today regarding this issue. Under member comments, page 5 of 5, there were several members who commented on a formal complaint lodged against a board officer. There were no notes in the minutes regarding these comments or the status of an independent investigation and results. This should be noted in the minutes with follow-up for members. I feel like all of these are important items from member comments who took time to attend or to comment at a meeting. I think the significance of historical and accurate minutes could be very helpful for future board members as reference. The number of members present, the presence of police officers, the accuracy of utilizing Robert's Rules of Orders are indicators of our health of our members and the board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Marcia?
Christy Spencer.
Good morning, Christy Swenson, 137489. And this is my first time talking this morning, so I'm sorry that I sound so like I just got out of bed. Number one, I owe you an apology, Ms. Lair, because I went on a rant about data. And having worked for a nonprofit for many years, I realized that there is such thing as lies, damn lies, and statistics, because my last nonprofit job was a matter of manipulating data. So I appreciate you and the fact that you declared yourself to be a nerd. I respect that. Secondly, back to our last meeting, I have a question about Mr. Iggy. What is your response to this assertion that you've been nasty in your come on, don't look at me like you don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't understand. I'm not understanding what you're asking.
Okay, Mr. Chase was here last time and said that he heard you say something really derogatory about Karen McAdam, busting her in the mouth or something.
Okay. Christy, I would like to respond to that. I have received an email from the witness that corroborated what Mr. Egge had said and what he did not say. And therefore, this matter is closed, and it's taken care of.
Well, I would just like to make sure that incident reports are followed up on more expeditiously the next time. Thank you.
It is followed up on the time schedule that it's supposed to be. Thank you.
Kim Kruger.
Kim Kruger, 151832. I'm here just to say I enjoy exercising in the community. I've been swimming, walking early and late on the golf course, paddle boating. I'm not a fan of indoor exercise. So I take my grandkids, 5 and 7, on the paddle boats, and I thought, well, this would be a great outdoor leg exercise. I go to try to get a paddle boat, and I was told I couldn't take one by myself. So I guess I'm here to ask if that's really a rule, and they said I could take a rowboat by myself. So when I take the grandkids, 5 and 7, they're not going to paddle me back if I pass out. So I'm curious if that is a rule, and if it is a rule, I'm asking, I think I have to ask the general manager group how to get that rule changed so one person can go out on a paddle boat.
Okay. Anyone? General Manager, Bill?
Madam President, Board of Directors, quite honestly, I'm not familiar with the rule, so I'd have to go back and take a look at that.
Okay.
I could defer to General Manager Eck.
Well, I'm not asking that my grandkids get kicked off because I can paddle them around, but I just also want to go by myself.
Madam President, Board of Directors, yes, initially when we put the paddle boats out, we started with one paddle boat, and people found it a lot harder to get back than what they thought, and especially if we have a little breeze and they're paddling against that. So we were in the rescue mission business all of a sudden of getting the people back to the docks on the paddle boats. So a rule was initiated that at least someone 12 and older, it requires 2 people so that it's not so much for one person to get back, and that's what happened.
So what needs to be done to change, allow one person to paddle around? I mean, I have my cell phone. I can call if I need help. I don't mean for someone to come rescue me, but I do paddle the grandkids around by myself.
Okay. So in order to change that, it would have to be something we would do in the or in the policy, correct? So it would be a board policy that we would be changing, something that we can look at.
Madam President, I can certainly circle back with Chris Herring on this, but if it was changed for the safety of our, the folks that are going out on those paddle boats, and we do become, challenged in terms of trying to rescue folks, it might not necessarily be the case, but I can certainly circle back.
Okay, thank you.
Time.
Okay. Thank you.
No one else has signed up to speak, Madam President.
Okay. So we will now open up the floor for anyone who did not sign up but would like to speak. When you approach the microphone, we ask that you state your name and member number. And again, you'll have 3 minutes.
Apparently, nobody wants to be the first one to turn in their test paper. Dave Whelan, 17077. I might be back. I have 2 points. The first one is, to some people familiar with the situation, Tom Maroney and myself have been going back and forth concerning due process in the Independent. His last letter, aside from lecturing me on supremacy of statute, was to go look up 2 court cases, which people who know me, that's exactly what I did. The first one was an appellate decision concerning home rule out of the state of Illinois, which to our potential learned partners who are attorneys, that doesn't hold water in Arizona, which tells me he couldn't find a case in Arizona. It involved quorum and a tax increase. And to basically cut to the chase, Crystal Lake being a home rule party, body politic, their quorum, as defined in their council rules, wasn't a full quorum of all the members. It was a smaller quorum of 4, and 3 of them passed the tax increase. It was a large class action suit. It was from the Appellate Court of Illinois. They found in favor of the board, which means you set your rules. And even though this Appellate Court's decision doesn't apply here, they basically said what you did was correct. The second one was Corey. He just mentioned Corey. And I looked it up, and there were a lot of court cases on that one in various jurisdictions. And anything that involved, having spent the late 60s in Southern Illinois, anything involving the Schlafly family interests me greatly, especially when they're going after each other over small things. This dealt with fiduciary responsibility. It is basically an accounting of the Eagle Forum Foundation. It was in federal court. They said they were entitled to an accounting of the assets with the foundation, and that was that, and then it was dismissed. So it also involved trademark infringement, which I have no idea how it applies here. The second one, and I'm not going to make it, so I will defer and try and come back later for my final comment. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Good morning. Jean Totten, member number 148753. President Wilson, directors of the board. Respect. I've heard that word a lot lately from both sides of the podium. To act in a way which shows that you are aware of someone's rights, wishes, to treat or deal with something that is good or valuable in a proper way, to regard someone or something as being worthy of admiration because of good qualities. On September 30th, at the last board meeting, you as a group took a small step toward earning my respect. How? By not seconding the motion to change one word, shall to may, when using Robert's Rules of Order, and by not voting to add verbiage that would allow the postponement of an annual meeting in the case of an act of God or other limiting circumstances this year. You postponed that motion until after January 2022 and listened to the members. The members. Today, right now, I'm asking you to remove more of the obstacles in the path of the members. There are several that I have to ask for, but I'm asking one, because according to Robert's Rules of Order, you are allowed to make a motion and second right here and now. Please make a motion to remove the 3-minute time limit on member comments. It is not fair to the members. It distracts from our questions and some of your answers. It takes away the ability to participate in the governance of RCSC. Will one of you make that motion?
I do not see it.
I guess that means no. You just lost that little bit of respect that you gained last time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Dave Lau. My number is 108163. Chairman and members of the board, I have a simple question. I wonder if you could tell me what we've spent for off-duty police officers in the last few weeks, and I would, when we find out what it is, I'd like it included in the record.
Bill or Kevin?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, what have we spent for law enforcement?
Madam President, Board of Directors, I don't have that number off the top of my head, but I believe it was $45 an hour is what the going rate was.
Okay.
Then it'll just be a matter of taking that number. I'm rather surprised that that's pretty reasonable, that you take that number times the number of officers and make it a public record. Thank you.
Thank you. First time? Okay, seeing no other comments?
Lori Ellingson, member number 133335. I'd like to talk to the board about double standard. The meaning of double standard is a rule or principle which is unfairly applied in different ways to different people or groups. I see double standard in various ways. The first one being, I was a candidate for the board. My name is not listed. I was not recognized when Director Hoffer introduced the candidates, but I did not receive any notification that I was disqualified from being a candidate. The qualifications to be a candidate, I fulfilled every single one except for the fact that you needed to be at the board orientation meeting, which was on Wednesday, October 6th. I was unable to attend because I was exposed to COVID. I was in direct contact with a person that tested positive for COVID. I did not feel that it was fair to the other candidates that were at that meeting or to the election committee to expose them to the same thing. The rec centers were shut down during the pandemic. They were not allowed to reopen until everyone was positive that there was no threat of safety to the members. I'm wondering why there's a double standard. Why the entire 39,000 residents were not allowed to use the rec centers because you were concerned about their safety, but why I was not allowed to run for the board because I was concerned for the safety of everyone that was required to be at that meeting. I also would like to know why no one notified me that I was disqualified from being a candidate.
Madam President?
Yes,
if I
Director
may.
Hoffer. Sure.
And I'm going to run over the 3 minutes, I'll tell you right now. First of all, you were notified. You were told by President Wilson, you were told by myself that if you did not attend that meeting, because you had originally said that you had a prior engagement that you'd set 3 months earlier and you couldn't get out of it. And I told you at the time, on the phone and via email, and I've got the email if you want to see it, that if you did not appear, this was the only must-attend item in the agenda, and it is in the bylaws that way. You were told that on the telephone, you were told that in email from me and by President Wilson, number one. Number two, you told me in an email that came 3.5 hours after that meeting concluded that you had COVID. This was the first time you mentioned COVID at all. You said you were exposed on the 29th. You were here on the 30th, and by my count, you spoke 4 times at that microphone, having been exposed to COVID. Now, you didn't know that at the time, apparently, and that's fine. On Sunday morning, I assume you received a text regarding that. Is that correct? That you were exposed to COVID?
That is correct.
Okay. At 6:23 p.m. Sunday evening, you were playing pickleball. So apparently that wasn't a big deal for you. There were over 100 people in this room on the 30th of September in which you had been exposed. You knew about it Sunday. How many of those people did you notify that they possibly could have had COVID, a potential deadly disease? Did you call anybody? Did you let anybody know?
I'm a little confused. I was playing pickleball.
At 6:23 p.m., your card was swiped, yes.
On Sunday.
On Sunday.
You need to...
Marcia has the card, and she can show that to you if you want to know. The other problem that I have
You need
at this
to
point...
recheck that. That is incorrect data.
On Monday the 4th of
That is
October...
incorrect.
On Monday the 4th of October, you sent a rather long email to President Wilson. This is the day after you were supposedly informed of this. You had no mention of COVID in that email. And then you only notified this board. We could have sent out a blast email to everybody notifying them, everybody that was here, that they potentially could have been infected with COVID or at least exposed to it had you let us know. But the only time you mentioned to us was 3.5 hours after that meeting concluded, 3 full days after you were aware of it. I find that to be highly irresponsible. I'm sorry. You did not follow what is listed in the bylaws. You were not at the meeting, and therefore you are not a candidate. Pure and simple.
Okay.
You need to go back and you need to check the records. I was not in Marinette Rec Center on Sunday.
Not Marinette, Mountain View.
Okay, time is up.
I was not at Mountain View.
Time is up. Are there any other first-time speakers? Christy, please wait. We have a first-time speaker coming up.
Michael Wendell, 145-206. I find the current exchange that just occurred totally out of character, wrong. It's a matter of you guys go and you take a simple rule and what have you. There should be some flexibility if someone has a conflict for something rather than one strike, you're out. For an orientation, that's wrong. You need to have some flexibility, and it's a candidate that people should decide maybe to vote on. Just because they miss an orientation, something should be able to be done to allow that orientation to occur. And so some flexibility. And this board shows very little flexibility. It's down to, that's the rule. That's the rule. And Mr. Hofer's really one that just jumps right in. Robert's rule says this, Robert's rule says that. He comes down, he finds a nitpick, and he keeps throwing it out. It's just wrong.
Thank you. Okay, wait, Christy, we have some first-time people yet. Please wait.
Come on, get up here.
Just wait, relax. You're old. Enjoy life. We're old. Enjoy life. Hi, Bill Pearson, 133438. Interesting exchange. First for me. Let me quickly ask some questions of the board. Most serious problem facing the RCSC in the coming years?
You're talking recent, or what's coming up. Obviously, ADWR is a huge one for us right now.
The water. Thank you.
Yes.
I agree. How many golf courses currently have desert landscaping in total, not edges, in total? One? More? I don't know.
Brian, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, Brian? Don't waste my time getting up. Just tell me.
Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Pearson. Willow Creek and Willow Brook have obviously fully been done. Lakes East is fully done, and when combined with Lakes West actually gets us pretty close to those two courses being near completion. And Quail Run would be so 4 of the 8.
8, okay. Very good, thank you. I had no idea. I know a couple of them were. Is there any concern that and I know you're going to cover this after, so I'll hang around, any concern for the 2025 water management plan being moved forward, given what's happened this year? No idea?
I don't know about moving forward, but obviously, we're trying to talk with them now on the new plan that's coming out, which is in effect 2023.
Right, okay. It's good. Finally, having sat in those chairs for 3 years, I probably have a differing opinion than you guys, but I need to ask this. How much information do you think a Sun City member has a right to know? Data.
I think they should have access to whatever they want.
Okay. Is that the consensus among the board?
Madam President.
Yes.
They should have access to everything they want except stuff that happens in the exec meeting.
Yeah, no. I agree. So in other words, if I want information on capital expenditures, I should be able to get it?
You will have to sign a request form to come in and look at that information.
Which makes it an interesting discussion. Why? If you honestly believe that I have the right to that information, or anybody in this room has the right to that information, why isn't it just public information?
Again, you know what, Bill? You could come to the finance meeting when they meet and listen to all of it.
Yeah, having served on the board, I don't feel like I ever saw all of it, which is interesting. And again, my time is almost up, but if we truly are entitled to everything, then we should have everything. Thank you.
Thank you. First-time speakers?
My name is Karen McAdam. My number is 122045, and I have one very simple question. Could you please update us on the status of the planning for the 2021 annual members meeting?
The annual meeting, we're looking at scheduling. I don't believe that the date is firm yet. Is that correct? It is firm? Okay. And we're looking at December 13th at 9:00 a.m. Okay. First time? Second time. Now it's open.
Christy Swenson, 137-489. I just want to say, Mr. Hofer's reaction to Lori Ellingson was beyond the pale. You were very disrespectful. And I really, really don't appreciate it. Thank you.
Ma'am, Madam
Yes.
President,
Yes.
if I may.
Director Hofer.
I'll tell you what I was very disrespectful about. I was very disrespectful about the fact that the safety of the people that attended this meeting on September 30th could have been put in jeopardy by a potentially deadly disease. And the fact of the matter is that nobody up here, nobody out here knew about it until Wednesday afternoon. We did not know about it until Wednesday afternoon.
Neither did she.
She found out Sunday morning. She just said that. And why she waited 3 full days to let anybody know, I think, is irresponsible. And I'm sorry about that. And Lori, I didn't mean to jump all over your case on that. But still, well, if I did, I did. But I'll tell you what. I think when you're dealing about the safety of members, that comes before a candidacy. And I would say the same thing to anybody.
Well, I'm sure glad I'm not married to you, because you and I would not get along at all.
I'm glad you're not too. Thanks, Christy.
Madam President.
Yes, Director.
I have to say that I'm kind of disappointed because of the fact that Lori comes to the microphone and she changed her story, and she's got you guys believing that this is the way it was. Because originally, like Rich said, she told us she had made this an appointment 3 months ago that she was unable to change. And she sent that and put it in writing, an email to us. And then, after the fact, she says she was exposed to COVID. She was here at this meeting and never told anybody about it. As a matter of fact, if she was just exposed to COVID, what, about a week ago? I think that she should still be in quarantine because you're supposed to do 14 days.
Okay. Dave?
Turn again?
Sure.
Okay. Hey, Rich, I'm glad I'm not married to you either.
So's my wife.
Yeah. For the record, for the audience, Dave Whelan, 17077. I was a member of the board, so if you want to boo me, now's your big chance to let it out. Oh, come on. Oh, anyway. Since I last served on the board, I've basically holed up in my little house watching Netflix, Amazon Prime, Acorn, Hulu, PBS, so on and so forth, and reading my beloved history books. So if you want to talk about Ravenna, Italy in the 8th century, I'm your man. But having said that, the real reason I'm here is because of my non-involvement and just what I read, the Karen McAdams situation. And there's been a lot of information flying back and forth. What I found interesting is Ms. McAdams wrote a piece for The Independent, and which I read, allegedly telling her side of the story. The problem is, and having practiced law without a license in 6 states now, she argued due process. That's really not the entire story. And as any good attorney will tell you, there's something called the facts of a case. Before you argue in a brief due process or whatever your bone of contention is, you have to outline the facts of the case. And now I understand from the board's point of view, executive sessions are in fact confidential. I sat in on them. I know this. But she could have stated the facts of the case. And aside from one particular phrase she used was defamatory language about her, which works into libel and slander. And so far, she has not filed an action concerning that. So I just don't understand. I still don't, I have no skin in the game on this one. I'm confused by the whole situation. So please tell me what the facts of the case are. And I know, President Wilson, you cannot, and neither can anybody on the board. It's her turn to say what this is all about, and I think it goes back to January when she started. And I have 5 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time.
I'm done.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Yes, please, come on up.
Roger Cason, 121666. I wasn't planning to speak today, but after hearing the discussion about the person exposed to COVID, I felt I should bring up an issue that's been a great concern to me. We were locked down for quite some time until recently. I attend the fitness facilities in the buildings constantly, and I'm finding a lot of people who do not wear masks are not vaccinated. So it's been quite concerning to me. I only go in with my mask on, even though I've been vaccinated, including boosted, but there are still chances for breakthrough infection. And it bothers me that people would be irresponsible enough to not be vaccinated and go into the facilities without a mask. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Nancy Greathouse, 149885. I really didn't have anything else planned to say, but in this exchange over the candidate who was disqualified, I don't know that person, I don't know any of you, I don't know any of the candidates, but I do find it a little bit offsetting that if you found out that this person came into a meeting and 3 days later and exposed them, I find it a little disingenuous that the concern was because of the COVID, because you said you could have sent out a blast. I never got a blast email to any members that I know of in the 3 days afterwards even, so I feel like that's a little disingenuous to say that that was your major concern and not that there was some bias. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Lori Ellingson, 13335. The definition of libel is a written and published false statement about someone that damages their reputation. This meeting is being published. It's being videotaped. It's going to be on YouTube. There have been 2 false statements by the board on me, and I do have documentation to prove that they are false statements. The first false statement: there is nothing written that says I had a conflict 3 months ago. And I have my emails as well, Director Hoffer. There is no documentation that I was at Mountain View on Sunday evening at 6:23 or whatever, and I would like to know who the facility monitor was on that day, on that time. And I would like to know, did that person physically swipe my personal card number, or did that person walk up and give them that number? So we need to find that out, because I can verify 100% that I was not at Mountain View on Sunday, the 30th, at that stated time. The other issue of libel. At the last board meeting, a card member who I have never met before, have never had any contact with before, came up and publicly was accusing me of running for the board because I only had one agenda, was to serve 100 or 600 people. That is a false statement. That person made no effort to come and talk to me in person and understand anything about me.
Okay, thank you. Other comments from the floor?
Jean Totten, number 148753. First of all, whether or not, I just think that it's great that you can hide behind your executive meeting to say things, but what you just did publicly was not nice. I just don't know how else to say it. And as you sit there scrolling, looking to find a guilty email, or how do we know that the person that she did swipe, it's just, we shouldn't be doing that here. Mm-hmm. You were all grown-ups. Okay, I wanted to speak to the First Lady who spoke, Lynn, about committee meetings. To be truthful, I'd rather ask my questions here so that you can look at me and see me, and it'll be videotaped. Even though it'll only be up for 3 months, well, I'm sure you could leave it up much longer, or the minutes could do a much better job of reflecting what has transpired than just saying conversation. So that's why I may attend some committee meetings, but I like to come here and ask my questions. It's my time as a member. That's what you told me. You said this is the place to ask questions. Also, she mentioned the fact that she was on the Long Range Planning Committee, and they spent countless number of hours, all kinds of suggestions. Then I still question, where did a mini ADA golf course come from that was in the plans? And why on this phase 3 was there just a large green field or whatever, but no courts, no tennis courts, no pickleball courts? Does anyone have anything to add?
I'd like to say, when we switched the plan and we moved, following our meeting, we listened to several people about the access to the theater and how that was laid out, and there were a lot of concerns on that. And so we had the architect go back and redo, following comments from the board, following comments, because yes, the board also had made some comments, following our comments, following comments from the audience, and then they redid and came back with a plan. We also knew that with ADWR coming in, that we were not going to necessarily be able to do all of Mountain View at once. We would love to. We would love to be able to do Mountain View all at one time and give you everything. But we knew with the ADWR that we were going to run into restrictions, so we knew that the prime things that they wanted at Mountain View were the theater and the gym. We knew those were the 2 big ones, and we also knew that they wanted the pool. Should the ADA mini golf been on there? Absolutely not. It should not have been on there.
Thank you.
But from that, that's how we started. Since we have met, we recently met with lawn bowling and we met with pickleball and have worked out something that we hope will come true in the future for them.
Okay.
Time.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Kim Kruger, 15832. 3 minutes is not long enough. So just back to Mr. Cook. So the issue about the paddle boats is not safety, it's getting staff to go rescue people that can't get back. Just making a clarification. Okay, just I want to add that piece that Jan had said they were playing rescue because people couldn't get back. So if you could just take that into consideration also. So then I want Mr. Pearson's comments about how many golf courses have the desert landscaping, and I understand the ADWR is putting restrictions on all golf courses in the city to decrease their water use. And I've seen East that has the desert landscaping, and I would like to ask if there's some way we could incorporate, and I live on a golf course, if we could incorporate walking paths, bicycle paths, something like that in that desert landscaping bit. And the landscaping that's on East right now is so dense you couldn't possibly walk there. And so a walking path would be less water, less plants. So if I could just ask that be thought about. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
Let's see.
Madam President, board members, Ms. Kruger, unfortunately, the golf courses are deed restricted. So at this point, we could not do anything with the land that's within the golf course confines other than golf activities.
That is true. That is true.
God, timing is everything in life. Here's the deed restrictions, by the way, and the letter of understanding that was reached in 1975 and ultimately deeded the courses and signed again in 1977 to the RCSC. There were two criteria. One was that they had to stay golf courses for a period of time, not into perpetuity, but for a period of time with a renewal period. The second was that they would be cost neutral or self-sustaining. Two provisions when you took them in these deed restrictions. If you haven't read them, you better. My apologies, Madam President. Did you say that there will be a meeting in December, an annual membership meeting? Thank you. I missed it. I was sharing some of this with the the exiting general manager. I never saw these as a board member. Did any of you?
Some have, yes. I have.
Okay, good. Have you read them? Do you know what they say?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. You know that they say they're supposed to be self-sustaining.
Yes.
No argument there. And you said it, and kudos to you, because you said it. And so when I see negative $660,000 at the end of a year or $320,000 at the end of the year, the summary, and I see that there's no effort to balance the budget and raise rates, I go, how does that work if they're supposed to be self-sustaining? And I recognize that golf is always a hot-button topic, and as a board member, you don't want to take the guff from the golfers that you're raising. Golf is about 10% of the membership. I don't know, Brian, we could argue is it 12 or whatever it is, but that means the other 88% are non-golfers. And I'm not anti-golf. This was built as a golfing community. It'll always be a golfing community. But as you said earlier, Madam President, we have a problem coming up in the next 10 years that is going to dwarf anything else we're facing. We can talk about Mountain View and whether it's 17 million or 40 million. It'll be somewhere the other side of 30. But that's immaterial because what's going to happen with the lake and what's going to happen with the desert landscaping. And as golf continues to decline, and it will, we knew that 10 or 15 years ago. We sat there and said golf is declining. I have articles over in the file there from the 90s where they said golf is a declining sport. You got to deal with it. Everybody's just gone, no, we're not going to deal with it because the golfers will get mad at us. I'm sorry, but it's going to crush us if we don't get our head around it. And you guys will be gone. I agree. It's the next group that get elected, whoever they are. You can't ignore it any longer. This said it's supposed to be self-sustaining. It hasn't been. And come the annual membership meeting, I'll be prepared to show it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry it's taken me so long. Karen Sharman, 117652. Actually, I really want to address this to Mr. Pearson. Number one, golf is probably not ever going to be totally self-sustaining. It is an amenity, as I was told. But part of the reason is they have thrown so much into, and I can't quote the exact amount, I'll ask Brian, but it seems to me like not only do we have the care of the golf courses, but they have the care of all of the grass facilities in Sun City falls under the golf budget. Well, you're not gonna balance the golf budget if you take all of the parks, all of the areas, the softball park, the Sun Bowl, the bowling, the lawn bowling courses, all of anything that has grass is under golf now.
It's not? As far as the equipment that we have that takes care of it, it comes underneath and is stored at lakes, yes.
Well, we also have the maintenance people are taking care of those areas, are they not?
Brian?
And I could be totally wrong on this. Stop it.
Madam President,
Yes.
directors of the board, Ms. Sherman, Grounds has its own separate budget. As much as I would love to say that Ms. Sherman's right, Mr. Pearson's wrong.
Oh, darn.
I can't do that, so.
Darn. I am so sorry, Brian. So there is a separate budget that you take care of that's just grounds. Which includes softball and Sun Bowl and all those other places. And includes the maintenance, I mean, the people, all of that gets cut out of that that budget, not the golf budget. Okay. Okay. I'm waiting for your adjustment. And I have not seen those agreements, and I would like to see those if I could, Bill.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah.
One more time. Kim Kruger, 15832. I'm not asking to get rid of golf or diminish it in any way. I've biked around the Biltmore, and people come off the golf course, walk in their dog, they go together. I think it could be a joint usage. Thank you.
Okay.
Lori Ellingson, 133335. When I picked up my packet to run for the board, I received this in the packet. It states the requirements to become a candidate. It also says underneath, a successful candidate will be fair and courteous and use good common sense. Being falsely accused of things, in my opinion, is not fair or courteous. Understanding the facts, getting all the correct documentation is. I'm going to go back to double standard. I was told in an email that there were no exceptions for moving the orientation meeting. I was told it's not fair to do that. I was given one example of a woman that ran for the board, wasn't able to attend because of a conflict of her son's wedding. I was not given any other examples of previous candidates that have missed the orientation meeting, but were given a second meeting that they could attend. There's a double standard.
That never happened.
Why is it okay for that person to be allowed a second meeting and not for me or this other woman?
Nobody's allowed a second meeting?
Yes.
You know, Lori, I can't go back to the beginning of RCSC and tell you what you're asking for, but I can tell you last year I ran for the board, and last year my son got married. And I had to rearrange everything to be here. I flew in, I was jet lagged, I sat up here and kind of sounded stupid because it was COVID, I was totally masked, I had to did a, Uber to get back and forth. It was not good, but I did it because that was what was required of me. I was here. I don't know what happened 20 years ago or 5 years ago, but I can tell you my personal history. I can also tell you that the other people who were running had to rearrange their lives as well. They had important things that they were doing, and they managed to rearrange them. It's hard. You know, we're damned if we do and damned if we don't. If we break the rule and say, well, we're going to make the exception, someone's going to come up here and scream, how dare you break your own rules? And if we don't break the rules and make exceptions, then we're mean and hard-hearted. There's no win up here. So all we have are the rules. And I'm sorry it didn't work for you. Run next year. You sound like you have a lot going for you. You know, get out there, get involved in committees, and plan next year, and hopefully it'll go better for you. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
Time.
Jean Totten, 148753. In my previous life, I was an executive secretary to a CEO and a board of directors. I had a lot to do with planning a lot of meetings and setting up committee meetings. Before I would set up a committee meeting, I would query the people who were on the meeting to give me some good dates and times for them. That would easily solve your issue of a mandatory meeting for any board candidates. Wait until you get them all in, and then talk to them about a good time. And you wouldn't have this issue. Simple solution. I just wanted to know, is it true that the newest board members at the time, which would have been Karen McAdam, Sheila Rooney, and Steve Collins, they weren't invited to sit in on every candidate interviewing meeting for the new GM? Yes or no?
When it was established that we were going to be interviewing candidates, it was set, actually even before anyone was on the team, that there would be an initial interview team that would have 5 board directors on it. From those initial ones, all of those were on Zoom, and we had set questions that we asked, and all directors were allowed to view those, all directors. Then when we got down to the final ones, all board directors were included in that.
And in the original 5, were any of them the newer?
Actually, no, and one who had been on the board before was not, or who was on the board earlier was not included. There were 5 directors.
It just seems to me that if you value the opinions of each of your board members, everyone should have been involved in every interview. I don't have enough time, so I guess I'll have to be back.
Any other comments?
Lori Ellingson, 13335. Going back to double standards. I was told by Director Hoffer, who is the chair of the Elections Committee, that he was unable to change the orientation meeting date because it was stated as a must attend. Now, candidate schedule of events, page 2. Swearing in for elected board, Thursday, December 16th, 9 a.m., Sundial Auditorium. It is stated as a must attend. Directly below that, executive session, election of board officers, Tuesday, January 4th, 11 a.m., boardroom. That also is stated, written as a must attend. Election and important dates. Candidate orientation, October 6th, Lakeview Boardroom. Candidate videos, October 8th, 10 a.m. Sundial. Those videos at 10 a.m. Sundial did not take place. They were rescheduled. The two must-attends on Thursday, December 16th and Tuesday, January 4th, have now been changed from must-attend to should-attend. Why are you able to change those two from must to should?
Madam President, if I may?
Yes,
I can
sir.
answer that for you. Okay,
You asked the question.
go ahead.
Point of order.
You're able to change.
Hang on, I'll stop the clock for you.
So you're able to change anything that seems that it is going to work in your favor, but you're unwilling to change anything that might be a detriment. Things are willy-nilly on what you decide, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. There needs to be a lot more structure when basing decisions on changing dates. The member meeting was scheduled for October 18th. That now has been changed to December 13th.
Madam President, if I could address this, please?
Yes, yes.
There really is a good explanation for this, Ms. Ellingson. If you take a look at Article 7, Section 4 of our bylaws, the reason that the candidate orientation is listed as must attend, it is one of the 7 candidate requirements listed in the bylaws, and therefore you must attend. It says, must attend board candidate orientation. As far as the other two, you're right. I called Marcia and had her change those from must attend to should attend. They do not appear in the bylaws. And because of that fact, there is nothing in the bylaws that say they need to be a must attend. And my comment was, if somebody can't attend the December 16th swearing in, or the January 4th election of officers, are we going to take an election away from them? That doesn't seem right. So therefore, I ask that it be changed from must attend to should attend, and that if in the future, next year's board, because I don't want to see anything changing as far as board policy and that type of stuff and bylaws during an election cycle. So we got a little bit lenient with that, but I said if it was the board's duty next year to want to change both of those things to must attend, personally I'd be against it, because I don't think you want to take an election. If somebody gets elected and couldn't make one of those, it's not really smart to take an election away from them because they couldn't be there. Right. As far as the candidate orientation is concerned, that's already there. It's been there. And that's the reason why that stayed and the others I changed. Does that make sense?
It doesn't.
To you, it does, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
It did to everybody else up here, too.
Okay.
Madam President?
Yes.
Lori, I have found an email that you sent to us, and on October 1st, 2021 at 12:29 p.m., you put out an email that said, "Dear members of the board, unfortunately, I have a conflict with another appointment on Wednesday, October 6th that was set 3 months ago. I have tried to reschedule that appointment, but was not able to." That we have right here in writing, so that is not a double standard. Yes, you sent that to all the board members, and I do have it right here. So it did not have anything to do with COVID. It's because you said you had an appointment 3 months ago and was unable to reschedule it. Right here.
Okay. Okay. Time. Let's move to the next person, please.
Mike Wendell, 145206. What Director Hofer just read was must attend new candidate orientation, correct? Yes. It didn't say the one and only new candidate orientation meeting.
Oh.
No, I'm just saying, you want to nitpick. You want to nitpick.
We're not nitpicking.
It's orientation. And you can be flexible in many other cases, and if someone truly has a conflict, maybe it's a doctor's appointment, maybe it's other things. Some things are hard because you got to schedule them well in advance, and the dates aren't necessarily given to you that far in advance. You schedule a new orientation meeting, but the words in the bylaws you just read are orientation, not an orientation meeting that's specifically a specific date and only given once for the year. So I'm going to say that's just a lack of flexibility on the part of a board for someone who has fulfilled all the other requirements and truly has a conflict, whatever the reason may be, that you can be that inflexible because you interpret it as, well, it's the one and only meeting. You just said they have to attend candidate orientation, not a meeting.
Okay, any other comments?
Jean Totten, 148753, Director Hofer.
Hi there.
Hi. At the election committee that I attended on September 22nd, you informed the committee, I believe this is true. Please correct me if I'm wrong. You informed the committee that this year, for the very first time, you would be live streaming the candidate forums to the members, thus giving them an opportunity to email their questions in from the comfort of their home. I did not notice that that was mentioned in the email blast, that any of that was taking place, and I wondered if you can keep it short. Why, was it by any chance due to some technological issue?
No. Actually, we're going to be sending out an email blast regarding that. It is, by the way, not email. It'll be done live on YouTube. And so you'll be able to ask questions on YouTube. We'll have people that will feed the questions from the booth down to the stage.
Okay.
And then we'll ask questions that way.
So you're still going to plan?
Keep your fingers crossed.
Right.
It's the first time we've ever done it. So
yes.
we did a test this summer, and it worked out pretty well. So I'm hoping it works.
That's good.
And we will get total information out to everybody in an email blast on how to do it. But
Okay.
it will be through YouTube.
Great. The only fallacy with that is there's a lot of people who don't get email blasts. I had someone ask me, what's an email blast? I don't know anything about it. So that's not a good point.
I believe we're also going to have it in Sunviews.
Well,
Jolene, are we going to have that in Sunviews?
Yeah, there will be a press release.
Thank you.
Got the information on Saturday.
Okay.
I know, I just gave it to her this weekend.
All right, well,
and
I was
Rusty,
gonna say-
Rusty's been great at helping us promote things, so I'm sure he'll do it.
Good. I was glad to hear it, Sunviews, but again, that was reduced
And the
also.
Independent, yeah.
It's not out there as much as it used to be because you felt it was not being read, that it was just in the driveways.
That's not, well,
that's not true?
no, it's not true.
That
Was it a
wasn't the
cost-cutting measure?
Yes.
It was definitely a cost.
How much did it save? No, don't get up. That's okay. I take that back. That's not on my sheet of paper. Let me see here. If you wanted to do a survey, this is a quick one, of all the people who own a home in Sun City, can you do that?
Well,
My data person.
exactly. Listen, in order to do a statistically sound survey, we talked about doing something possibly like this. And not everybody, just what you said, not everybody in town has email.
Right.
Older population may not have an email. But we could take a random sampling, which could be 99% accurate, and take a sampling of the population by age so that whatever age group is correctly sampled, we could do that. And the answer is yes, we could do it.
You can do it by age.
We could do it. Let's say that people from 85 to 75 make up 30% of the population, 30% of the survey questions would randomly pull from that age group. Yes.
Excellent. Do you use something like SurveyMonkey?
Yes.
Okay.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anyone else going to speak? Can I just stay up here?
Okay. There we go again.
Can I do that, or do you want me to
go
walk
ahead.
away
Third time.
and come back? Okay. I think everyone knows my number and my name by now, and if you don't, that's good too. Is it true that, we've been hearing about rumors. I heard a rumor that there's a good possibility pickleball might actually move indoors somewhere. Anyway, is it true that you plan to hire Jan Ack as a consultant in the next year?
No.
Boy, news to me.
Well, that's good.
Jan's looking forward to retirement.
I would think she would be, so thank you for that. I appreciate that. If you look back on the last 8 months of your term on this board, is there one decision that you have made that you wish you could change now? Any of you? One decision. There isn't, okay. I'm not supposed to say, okay, she is.
Secretary. Yes. Speaking of surveys, when we produced a survey through the Long Range Planning Committee, we sent it out, first of all, as just a test before we would send it to anybody, to the board. And rumors are a killer.
Yes, they are.
Rumors got out, and everything got squashed, and we didn't get to do the survey. 2020 hindsight, I would not have said it to the board. That's my comment.
Okay. But then also, too, the board needed to approve the questions, and you
I don't believe that's true.
That's what I thought, yeah. You didn't think that was right. Okay, very good. And one last thing, I'm just very curious. What would you, as a board member, do if we woke up tomorrow and looked out and Viewpoint Lake had dropped 5 feet overnight? Do you have a plan in place? Do you have money to pay for that plan? Because there is a slow leak, I've been told. I was aghast when I heard that could become a much larger leak.
I think Madam President?
Yes, Secretary Lear.
I'm sorry, but I do think we have a plan. I think we know how much it's going to cost. And hopefully, well, if it all drained out right away, that would make our plan cheaper, I would think. So
that would help.
There's always a plus side to everything. But yes, we do have a plan.
Is the plan advertised anywhere?
Actually, if you want to stick around for after this meeting, we have a planning session.
Right.
And that is a time when the board is presented with information and we can discuss it. Members can sit and listen. It is not a time that you can comment or question. Right. But we're going to be hearing about ADWR in the lake as well as security systems.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments?
Lori Ellingson, 133335. Director Akins.
Yes, ma'am.
The email that you read
Yes, ma'am.
is correct. It was dated on Saturday, October 1st. I was informed that I was exposed to COVID on Sunday, October 3rd, 2 days later. I then sent an email only to Madam President Wilson. From that email, I wrote, there is nowhere mentioned that the orientation meeting must be physically attended. In the bylaws, it is written, must attend candidate orientation with a parentheses, S parentheses, meaning it could be plural, meaning there could be more than one orientation. The word physically is not mentioned anywhere. I asked if the meeting could be videotaped. I asked if the meeting could be attended by Zoom. The date and time of the meeting was not written in the bylaws. So you're not breaking any bylaws by changing the date when you have the orientation. You're not breaking any bylaws by adding a second orientation. Making it plural gives the board the option to have more than one meeting. So it's not directly my decision not to attend. I feel like I made every attempt to try to attend in any form that I could, and I was not getting any feedback from any of the board except for, this is the bylaw, this is the rule. Is there a reason why no one was able to accommodate any of those requests?
Madam President, I would like to respond to, Lori, you, earlier in this meeting, you were the one that got to the microphone and said the reason why you could not attend the board orientation was because of COVID. You never once mentioned that you had an appointment that you made 3 months ago and could not reschedule. That was why I said that was the reason that you gave us originally. You did not never mention anything about that appointment. So I was going back to your email that you sent us because that's the information that we got. Now today, all of a sudden, it was because of COVID. So is it because of the appointment or is it because of COVID? Because you seem to be going back and forth and you can't seem to get the story straight.
It was first because of the appointment, and later I had no control over being exposed to COVID.
I see, okay. So now you want to admit to it.
Okay. Okay, time, do we have another comment waiting to come? That's okay, it's okay.
You
Hang
know
on,
who I
Dave.
am.
That's okay.
Dave.
We have a lady right behind you. That's okay.
Beverly Simons, 24961. I appreciate all these people that have a problem. They keep coming back up. How many times can they come up and beat this horse? We are waiting. We were late people, and we're waiting very patiently. Are you going to let us hear your opinions, or do we have to continue to listen to these same people?
Dave?
Does this mean she's tired of hearing from me? two things. The first is, evidently Miss Ellington has dropped the libel and slander thing. I guess she looked up on her electronic Black's Law Dictionary that the only defense to libel and slander or defamation of character is the truth. Right, Counselor? He's with me. The second thing is, and although math was never one of my strong subjects, she said, I'll accept Miss Ellington's statement that she was exposed to COVID on October 3rd. The incubation period is 14 days. She's 4 days early. In other words, she's potentially exposing all of us to COVID at this very moment.
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Seeing no other comments, we are moving to board comments. Any member of the board
Cut it off.
have a comment?
Cut it off. We're done. We're done. We're done.
I didn't until a minute ago.
Okay, I'm sorry. At this point, we're moving into board comments. Jean, if you can wait, we'll answer your comment afterwards.
I can't wait.
I'm sorry. We're moving to board comments, Jean. If you want to stick around, we'll answer your question afterwards. Thank you. Board comments. Anybody from the board who would like to comment? Secretary Lear.
I would like to say, it's really hard sitting up here. I enjoy very much donating my time and working for RCSC. But as Jean has said herself, we're all grown-ups here. And we are. We are as well. And the reason we have board policies and bylaws is not to squelch the members. It's not to penalize you in any way, shape, or form. Most of those bylaws or board policies have come out of some kind of an issue or complaint or a disagreement between members. Sometimes it's regarding voices. You come in here, you hear a lot of voices of complaint. You hear people who are very organized in their complaints, and obviously they've spent time preparing what they're going to say, which is fine. And then you've got that silent majority. When you're sitting up here, we're trying to listen to what you have to say. We also have to listen to the other 30-some thousand people who maybe aren't here, the so-called silent majority. We have finances, we have security, we have operating expense, we have capital expense. It's a lot of juggling. It's not so easy. You want to ride on the paddle board by yourself. You want us to change the rules so that you can do it by yourself and take your grandkids. I can honestly tell you, as a person sitting here on the board, knowing the liability, no way. We've already had issues. We've already had people that needed to be rescued. People have drowned in that lake. Once you get in, it's hard to get out. No, I would never, and that's just me. I can't speak for the rest of the people on this board. But I would tell you, yes, I know personally you want to do it, but history's telling me, bad idea. And I personally wouldn't vote on it. Everything I do as a board member, I read through these policies before this meeting. I go through everything. I make sure that I am up on whatever information there is. So for me to sit here and to have people constantly complaining about what it is I do or say, or it's disheartening, and you can run for the board. I am telling you, God's honest truth, I put in less than 20 hours a week. I have a very good profession. I could be paid $75 to $95 an hour PRN to do my job. I do this for free. So when you talk about being adults and you talk about being respectful, let's all be respectful to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members?
Yes, Madam President.
Yes, Director
I would
Akins.
just like to make a couple corrections. I know at the last meeting, I stated that we tried to get a parliamentarian, but I failed to mention that we are not looking to hire one. We would like to have someone volunteer since we have so many experts out there, because we are a volunteer position, and we're looking for somebody that would like to volunteer their time, not looking to hire someone. I also stated that there are several different versions of Robert's Rules. What I meant to say is there are a lot of different interpretations of Robert's Rules. Yes, I know there is the 12th version of Robert's Rules, which states in there that an executive meeting can be a separate meeting or part of another meeting. It does state in there, because I have looked at Robert's Rules, the 12th version, and I've come very familiar with it. So I'd just like to correct that. Thank you.
Any other board comments at this time? Okay, our next board meeting is October 28th, 2021, here at Sundial Auditorium at 9 a.m. We are going to be having immediately actually, we're going to take a 10-minute break because, I'm sorry, we're all senior citizens up here, and we're going to use the restrooms. And we're going to have a planning session after a 10-minute break to discuss the following topics, and one of them is security options, and the other is the ADWR, which also includes the lake. So with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I so move.
All right, moved by Secretary Lear, seconded by Director Westmeyer. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Are we coming back up here?
This is a copyrighted production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.